Okay, should we get started then? It is 6 o'clock. I think we were due a couple more people that are down on my list, but I think the sooner we get started, then the sooner we can really get going with it. And if people arrive late, I can just admit them as we go. Can you just raise your hand to show me you can hear me? That's okay, fabulous. Just was worried that my audio wasn't working and I was talking into nothing. So thank you for coming. This is such an unusual way to do our open evening for new parents. And we're conscious of that, really conscious of what strange environment this is and strange times we're in. But we'll try to give you as much information tonight as we can. Obviously, a lot about September is unknown. And a lot is still to be planned and still to be looked at, but we can tell you what we know now, and we can then keep you informed with any new things that come up between now and September. Oh, got another person waiting to come in. So let's get started. Obviously, we're Thomas Harding Junior School, and I know a lot of you are coming to us from Elmtree, as you do every year, but I know we've got lots of other parents from different places. So it might be that some of the information you already know, and I apologise in advance for that if that's the case, but just trying to encompass enough information for everybody. So get my PowerPoint to move. There we go. So this evening, what we're going to do is be introducing the whole team to you so that you can put faces to names, tell you a little bit about our school and what makes us special, talk to you about how we go about keeping your children safe, talk to you a bit about transition arrangements. Obviously, they're very different this year to normal, but you know, we can talk about what we're planning and what we've already done in case you've missed any of it. A little bit about inclusion. My inclusion manager is here this evening to talk to you about inclusion at Thomas Harding. Our English lead is also in the call this evening to talk to you about reading. I'll tell you a little bit about Mr. Louvois and her role at our school. And then a chance for questions. And obviously, this might be a difficult environment for you to ask the questions you have, but what I will do is at the end give you my email address so that you can contact us directly if you want to ask questions in a confidential way. So, key members of the team then. So, my name is Mel Nugent and I'm head teacher at Thomas Harding. John, do you want to introduce yourself or?
Just do that awkward pause whilst I unmute. Hi everyone, I'm John Turner, I'm the Deputy Head Teacher.
And I'm Miss Arnott, I'm the Inclusion Manager.
And Sarah, you there, Sarah?
Oh, I'm just unmuting my microphone, sorry about that. Yes, I'm Mrs. Westwood, I'm a member of the SLT, but I'm also in charge of English and of music as well.
Mr. Louvois can't be here this evening, but she's our family liaison officer, and I'll tell you more about her role later on. Some of you may already have met her. And then
I'm Miss Thornhill, I'm one of the Year 3 teachers.
Hi, I'm Miss Quatchy, I'm the other Year 3 teacher.
And we've got a whole range of learning support assistants in Year 3 this year. I think it totals about 4 members of staff, I believe, could be 5 that are in Year 3 this year. So they're not here this evening, but I'm sure you'll get to know them really soon. Hang on, I think somebody else waiting to come in. There we go. Okay, so that's the team. That's the team that you need to know. Yeah, so let's get going. Okay, move it on. So, our school vision is really important to us. I can't be everything about Thomas Harding is a configured whole. We completely unify behind our vision, behind our values, and you'll notice that from the first day. Our staff and our pupils live by our values, and we really aspire to great things for our children. Aspiration is at the heart of our curriculum. Our curriculum inspires and challenges all children to reach their full potential through rich and exciting opportunities. And I'm not suggesting for a second that some schools don't live their vision, but we really do. So our entire curriculum has been written for our children. It's written from their starting points, what they need, and it develops and changes year on year. We adapt it to meet the needs of our children. So It's all about them aspiring to greatness and aspiring to achieve their potential in life. That does lend itself to academia, of course. However, the second part of our vision shows you the other part of the package with us. We do genuinely value individual well-being and happiness. We strive to keep every child safe. We build their inner confidence and their resilience, and we nurture them. It's all about skills for lifelong learning and becoming a whole person, not just somebody who can pass exams. You can see there are values, and these values are incredibly important. We live them all the time, every single day. Those values that are there on the screen actually are the ones that we've been living by this year. So to prove to you, if you like, that our curriculum changes year on year, we are changing these for next year. So we've looked at our children, we've looked at the curriculum that we have in place, we've looked at what they need for September, because let's be honest, the world is a very different one to this time last year. And we are changing our values in line with that. So it will no longer be achievement, success, potential, independence, respect and equality. Achievement becomes aspiration next year, potential becomes pride, independence becomes integrity, and respect becomes resilience. Just a changing slant on our curriculum in order to kind of embrace the new way we're living in the new world and the new curriculum that we need for our children. And we'll talk a bit more about curriculum later. So we work very hard to provide this stimulating and safe environment, which develops a love for learning in our children. And I think what I really wanted to emphasize on this slide in particular was about how that's a partnership with you. And everything we do at Thomas Harding is about that partnership. Now, obviously, that's the obvious things. That's the supporting your child with their homework, that's reading to and with your child. But it's also the wider curriculum. So we have lots of opportunities for you to come into school over the course of the academic year. We have a dance festival once a year, we have class assemblies and we have shows. And we have opportunities in the autumn term for you to come in and share curriculum with the children. And it's really important. We always have a great turnout for those events. And it's really important to us that your child sees that we work together. Volunteering to help in school is always welcome. We're always looking for reading volunteers. Obviously, that might be difficult straight away in September, but it's worth looking at for later. Our PA is always crying out for people to help out on that. But it's also about keeping us informed. So that keeping your child happy and achieving and enjoying learning is all about us working together in partnership. So everything we do, we communicate with you and we ask that you communicate back with us. It's really important to understand that we're just one part of this big jigsaw that is your child's education. And obviously they've had their infant school education. And one of the huge benefits of a junior school as opposed to a full primary school is that your children get that opportunity to lift up and rise up to be at a junior school. They're getting an opportunity that a lot of children don't have till they're 11 and they go on to secondary school. So we do find that it develops children's independence, their resilience, their ability to fit in a new environment and manage. And they tend to grow up quite significantly in year 3. And actually we encourage that. We encourage their independence. We encourage them to strive to become a more coordinated, organised individual. And we do that in a caring, loving way, obviously. But it's really important that you understand that we're building on skills in the infant school, but within 4 years, we're working very quickly and hard to get them ready for the transition that they face in 6 to go on to secondary school. As a school, we really believe and push and work on the importance of growth mindset as a learning tool. Our children believe and know and live the idea that they can achieve anything if they work hard. If they set their mind to something and keep going and don't give up, they persevere, they will achieve whatever they need to achieve in a lesson, in a year, in life. And we push that continuously because that's the science behind it that backs it. We work with them through our values to understand and work at that. And you'll hear our children talking about growth mindset a lot. Learning as long-term memory is a new initiative over the last few years that's come through, and it's something that Thomas Harding had done for a number of years, and it's about ensuring that children understand that learning isn't always a straight path. So sometimes your child might come home to, this goes back to the communication. Sometimes your child might come home and say, "What, my maths work was too hard today, mummy. I couldn't do it." And the instinct there is to, in some cases, might be to say, well, perhaps somebody needs to make it easier for you. Maybe they need to support you more with that. But actually, what we say is that work needs to be difficult in order for the children to make progress. So sometimes it's about communicating with us. Sometimes work might appear too easy to an adult who's not in the lesson and doesn't understand what that child needs to do. But actually, what looks too easy on first glance might be learning as long-term memory works that children need to consolidate and go over. So learning looks like lots of different things. Sometimes it looks easy, sometimes it looks too hard, sometimes it looks like things they've already done before. But we ask you to work with us, to communicate with us, to talk to us about how your child found the work, and to support and reinforce that growth mindset message with your child, because it's so key to everything we do at school. So keeping your child safe is a huge, as you know, from looking at our vision, it's a huge part of our school and something that we take very seriously. We have, sorry, it's frozen. There we go. We had an Ofsted Readiness review from our Academy Trust in October this year, just gone. And one of the key outcomes from that, our trust is led by an inspector, an Ofsted inspector, and one of the key outcomes of that inspection was he said to us that the behaviour at our school is exemplary. And we're very proud of that. It is exemplary. It's exemplary in the playground, it's exemplary around school, and our children want to learn, want to achieve, and know that hard work gets them where they want to go, so they work hard in class. And we have absolutely the highest possible expectations of behaviour. Children know what we expect of them and they rise to it naturally. I can't, in all good faith, say to you there's never bullying at our school. You wouldn't believe me if I said it, because that sounds like an outlandish thing that a head teacher would say. What I can say, though, is that any incidents of unkindness is rare, and where it's found, it's stamped out, and we have zero tolerance to any kind of bullying behaviour. We take it very seriously and we act on it immediately. We expect our children to live by our values, and our values, one of the new ones is, of course, integrity, and we expect children to behave with integrity. We do a lot of work, though, around what is bullying with children, because children often use the bullying word when actually what they mean is, my best friend and I have fallen out, or we've been unkind to each other, or she's been unkind to me, and it's about understanding what bullying means. So we do a lot of work around that with children. But we do have an honest, loving and caring culture, and we stamp it out. It's really important that you communicate with us. It goes back to that communication, that you talk to us, that you listen to our side of the story, and that you trust us to investigate and to deal with things properly, because at the end of the day, we actually both want the same thing. We both want your child to be happy, to feel safe and to feel cared about. Genuinely, that's what we want too. So we'll always be on the same side. And that goes back to the next point. It's really important we communicate. Where problems happen is where either there's been a miscommunication between children and their teacher, so perhaps the teacher doesn't know that something's happened, and the first we know about it is you telling us, or so we haven't had a chance to deal with it. Or it could be that the child saying one thing happened and something different happened in school, and it's about making sure that parents communicate with us so that we all know it, we can investigate it honestly and fairly. And that goes for whether or not your child has had someone be mean to them, or your child is being mean to somebody else. It's just about us all talking it through and communicating. Very often what the children need is re-educating and teaching. We've got a completely open door policy. We are always available to talk to you. Your class teacher will bring your child out after school every day to the playground, so you will have a chance to talk to your class teacher every day. And to communicate with us. There's always a member of SLT on the gate in the morning, and it's always possible to have an appointment with our family liaison officer, or with myself, or with Mr. Turner, or our inclusion manager. In terms of safeguarding, it's really important, as we've just said, that we work together. We do lots of work in school about around the NSPCC and around children taking responsibility for telling an adult, finding safe adults that they can talk to, about how to stay safe online and what to do if you feel unsafe online. That's been incredibly important in the last few months when children have been working at home an awful lot on computers. And lots and lots of work around helping parents keep their children safe too, through our family liaison officer. So it's all about communication between us all, and we are here to help you. And we're all here with the same end in mind, which is to keep your children safe and happy and to ensure that they achieve. So yeah, and that really just goes back to we're on the same side and we want the same things. So let's talk and make sure that we communicate about that. So transition. So obviously this year it's been much more difficult than normal. Normally children would have come over to see us, we'd have gone over to see them, there'd have been much more sort of fluidity and ability. You'd be in school now having a look around. So it is an alien way of doing things, I understand that, and we've tried to think of ways that we can make it better for the children and for yourselves. So there is, if you haven't already seen it, there is a transition page on the website which contains a video which Miss Thornhill and Miss Capocci put together to show your children a tour of the school, a booklet that introduces them and our school to them and gives them a little bit of information. If your child is at Elmtree and is currently going into school at Elmtree, there are Zoom calls on Mondays between the Year 3 teachers and the children. The first one was this week. There are other things on the website as well. So there are lots of photos of the kinds of things we do during the year on the website, which you could share with your child. Every week we're doing assemblies and stories linked to our values. And actually there are stories from Miss Thornhill on the website that you could look at. If your child's in Miss Thornhill's class, she's reading some David Walliams books on the website. So have a look on there and find, there are lots of things there that you can, use to get an insight into us. And what we have proposed to do is that on the very first day of the autumn term, it will be Year 3 only in school. So the first day will be just Year 3 so that they can acclimatise, have a transition day in September to have the school to themselves and to get to know the way that the school works, have their tours, have a day of settling in before the rest of the school arrive the day after. Sorry, I'm just letting people in. Okay. So, Mr. Turner, is this you?
I'm unmuted now, I think. Yeah, just a brief overview really of the curriculum for Year 3 here at Thomas Harding. I'd say that we pride ourselves in what we offer our children in terms of the curriculum, in providing opportunities and experiences that are rich and broad and varied, because it keeps our children, it keeps them engaged, but it's also relevant. And everything that our teachers go away and prepare for your children to teach in their classrooms has relevance. And it builds content and knowledge and skills that our children need to be lifelong learners. And I don't think we would be doing our children or our families any justice if we didn't respond to the children's needs, which is part of the reason why we've looked at and developed our values as something that completely underpin our curriculum. So with all that in mind, we've done lots and lots of research around what a curriculum would look like coming back in the autumn term, not just for Year 3, but for the rest of the school as well, because we know that our children have just lived through a very different time, and all of those children are going to have varied experiences. So our Year 3 children coming in, for example, they may well have not been to school at all since March the 20th, since the lockdown began. They may have been into school in a key worker capacity. They may have been in for a few days at the end doing some transition work, and the whole experience would have impacted all of our children in very different ways. And we know that there are children out there, year 2 children, who haven't finished their infant school experience, and that's going to be almost a loss to them. And we need to pick up and we need to run with what's happened, but we also need to respond, and we need to adapt. So our curriculum, as we return, will very much be around rebuilding children as learners, rebuilding the skills that they need to come back into school, potentially after a long period of being out of school. And we've crafted our curriculum especially so that we can not only catch up, and I know for many parents, especially the ones that I've spoken to, lots of parents sort of worrying about, but they've missed so much, and what about English, what about maths? And yes, that's very important, and with lots and lots of hard work, we will get back to a state where we're catching up on all of that missed content. But the first thing that we need to do is to restore that idea of routine and structure, and re-establish what it means to be sociable and have friendships and deal with emotions, all responding to what's happened. So we intend to have some excellent projects running throughout the first part of the autumn term in order to engage and get children back into that mode of learning. Because we're very aware that there is a shift between how children learn, especially between Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. Overall, we do still follow the national curriculum. We are going to keep it broad and balanced. As I've said, we pride ourselves on our curriculum. It's really important to us. It's who we are, and we want to provide and continue to provide children with those opportunities so that they can continue to excel and make them those well-rounded individuals that leave here in 4 years' time, having enjoyed all of those experiences. I think that's most of what I had to say, Miss Nugent, unless I've missed anything.
No, sounds great. I just had to unmute myself effortlessly without looking clunky. Thank you, Mr. Turner. So yeah, sort of echoing what we said at the beginning, which is that nothing is done accidentally. Nothing is done because we've done it before, and it's just what we do. We continually shift and change depending on the needs of our children, because they're why we're here, and what they need is what we will provide, which is why our children do so well at the end of Key Stage 2 with us. There's no, it's not an accident. Okay, so having looked at some of the broader brushstrokes of school, let's now look down at some of the operational aspects of school, some of the actual nitty-gritty of each day. And as I said at the beginning, some of this is likely to change. Some of this might be slightly altered in September. It does depend on our COVID-19 planning and what happens in terms of that. But obviously you will get all of that once it's done, and we can tell you more about what school will look like in September. So we will talk about what it would normally look like, and it may well look something very like this in September, with that caveat that we're not sure yet. So ordinarily we have a breakfast club which runs from 8. It does cost some money, and you need to register for it. You don't have to register for every day. You can pop in and out, or just do a couple of days a week, depending on your work schedule. And children get to be sociable in the hall during breakfast club. They sit and eat their breakfast together. It's fully staffed. My inclusion manager runs it. And if your child is pupil premium, so they can receive free school meals, they can come to breakfast club for free. So yeah, that normally runs every morning. Our gates open at 8:30. We ask that parents don't come into the school playground. There are lots of reasons for this, but the main one being that it's a really nice sociable time for children to develop their independence, and to ask them to come in and to meet with their friends and to have a calm start to the day. And the children love it. They really appreciate it. It's a bit like a morning social chance to catch up and have a chat. It's very calm and it's very measured. The gate is always manned by my family liaison officer, Mr. Louvois, and a member of SLT is always on the other gate as well. So we're always around in the morning to talk to you if you need to talk to us. And a member of teaching staff comes out in the morning as well to supervise the children. So the children are very well supervised. They can't get out of the playground. It's just a nice chance for them to meet up in the morning and have a chat. The whistle is blown at 10 to 9 and the children go into school lined up in class groups. The teacher comes out and gets them and they all go into class. We have whole school break normally, 10:30 till 10:45. Lunch is 12 to 1 and school finishes at 3:25. We do ordinarily have an after school club as well. Again, you need to register and there is a cost to that. It's run by my office manager, Mrs. Lenny, along with 2 parent members of staff as well who help out on different days, sort of part-time. Really well staffed. Children get to do lots of different activities, board games, iPads, they get to eat toast. It's a nice calm affair after school and it's fairly well subscribed. You know, a good variety of year groups of children attend it. Obviously breakfast and after school club are currently under review. We need to look at sizes of bubbles and how we might manage that provision in September. It's unlikely to be in place for the first couple of weeks at least, but it could be that we can think of a creative way of ensuring that we can do some social distancing and we can organise it. But obviously that's subject to planning, so we need to think about that. But we will get back to you as soon as we can, of course. Breaks and lunches are likely to be staggered and in bubbles in September, so it's unlikely to follow that pattern, but your child will still get the same amount of time to eat their lunch as they would normally get and to go out to play as they would normally get. It just may well be that it will definitely be that it's not the whole school together at one time like it would normally be. But obviously you'll get more information about that as soon as we've done the final touches to our planning. So parent pay, we're a cash-free school completely. All parents will have access to parent pay, and parent pay is used to pay for lunches, trips, donations, uniform, and everything, literally everything. My facilities manager reassures me that you will get all of the forms and all of the information you need to sign up to parent pay in September. We're a paper-free school, so we don't send any letters out at all. All letters and newsletters are sent electronically. Via email. We also have a text service where we can text you with information as well. And we ask that you phone us, please, if your child is absent, late, not very well, whatever the reason. We ask that you give us a ring. We've got an answer phone in the office, so it might be that if you call early, you won't get to speak to a person, but even a message is enough just to let us know your child isn't going to be in. So school meals are changing in September. So we've got a brand new meals provider, so there will be a period of transition probably while that beds in. You may not notice it, but we certainly will. It's worth just making a mention of the fact that universal free school meals do not apply at Key Stage 2. So you either need to bring a packed lunch, pay for a hot lunch, or check your eligibility for a free school meal. Free school meals, if you are in receipt of universal credit, are a great idea, because even if you don't take up the free school meal in the initial phase, it's there for you later should you want to change your mind. But also the school gets additional funding to support your child in school. So it's a really great idea, particularly in this climate where we're trying to catch up and provide the curriculum we need. It would be great if we could have as many parents as eligible applying for free school meals so that we get that extra funding. So we have a new meal supplier in September. For the first time in my whole time in education I've ever heard of, you're now going to be able to pay retrospectively, which means your child will choose their lunch, eat their lunch, and then you will pay for it later on rather than in advance. And you'll pay for that on parent pay, as we said. So the menu will be available on the website, and I believe that the autumn term one is already available on our website. And children will choose their lunch in school each day. So your child will come to the hatch and look at the choices and say, I would like jacket potato. And then they will have their jacket potato, and then you'll get a ping on parent pay to say, you'll get a ping on parent pay to say that your child had a school meal that needs now to be paid for. What we will have to do for that, of course, is to have a rota system to ensure fairness, just to make sure that everybody gets to go in to first lunch and gets the full option. Because obviously going into last lunch, you might not have the full range of choices. Okay, just clicking on. Yes, you pay for your hot lunches through parent pay. This will be set up in September. You can choose to bring a packed lunch. Please be mindful of what you pack. Of course, as is standard now, there are no nuts. We're a nut-free school. But we do really encourage children to be healthy. So we ask that you avoid packing chocolate and sugary snacks and anything in that vein. One, for your child's health and well-being, but secondly, because then it makes learning very difficult in the afternoon. You can really get a sense of the kind of packed lunch children have had when you walk in a classroom at 1:30 in the afternoon. And for your child to be able to learn most effectively all day, chocolate and sugar for lunch is not the best option. So fruit and yogurt and a sandwich and healthy foods, please. So yeah, if you do think your child is eligible to read preschool meals, ask for a form from the office. You should have had one in your pack. I've seen some come back already. Obviously that application is completely confidential. Nobody knows apart from the office staff that you've applied for that. So it's really worth doing. Okay, homework. So we start with a staggered approach in year 3 because obviously children, and even more so this year, because obviously children need a chance to get used to the expectations of being in a junior school before we start being too, onerous with homework. So it will start with a staggered approach. We normally set homework on a Wednesday across the whole school, which will then be due in on the following Monday, which then gives the teacher a bit of time to turn it back around and for the next lot of homework to come out the following Wednesday. Maths is online based. We use My Maths, and children can also use Mathletics. So we subscribe to both sites and you'll get your username and your password in September. English can take a variety of forms depending on what they're learning about in class at that particular time. It could be reading, it could be writing, grammar, it could be a speaking and listening activity. We expect that each of those pieces will take about 30 minutes to complete in year 3. We have a tic-tac-toe grid, which is for the wider curriculum. So this is a noughts and crosses style grid, which will have a variety of activities in it. And children choose activities to do over the weeks. It's always a highlight of my time on the gate in the morning when you see children walking in with Viking helmets and posters they've made and all sorts of things off their tic-tac-toe homework. So yeah, they can do it as and when, it's a more informal approach, but we expect children to be working on a piece from that grid at all times. They have spellings each week, and we expect children to read every day and record that in their reading record. Children who read particularly well and record in their reading record can be rewarded by our English Lead in year 5 and 6 with a really beautiful bound reading diary with our school logo on it, and that's a real achievement when children get it, and children very much look forward to receiving one of those. It's a real honour. And some of our children's reading records are incredible. In fact, many of them are. Children really write copious amounts in their reading record to show their understanding of their text, and we're very proud of them, and we share them and show them in assembly and reward children for that. We want children to love reading. We want children to be motivated to read. So we want them to read every day. We want them to share books, enjoy books. It's a really key message that we send out consistently in school. Music tuition, the forms will be available in September. Some are provided by independent music teachers and some are the Bucks Learning Trust. You make a contract with the music teacher directly or Bucks Learning Trust, and you bill them directly. Unfortunately, because they're independent, they will charge you if your child doesn't attend. Please ask us though if your child is in receipt of free school meals, because very often we can make an arrangement with the music teacher and the school can pay for the music lessons if your child is in receipt of free school meals. So if your child really wants to learn a musical instrument, let us know. Obviously it requires commitment because your child needs to practice when they're not in their lessons. So it's really important that your child is committed and wants to learn the instrument, but obviously it's incredibly rewarding if they do. But more information on that in September. Our uniform is really important to us. Pride is now one of our school values, and it's really important that children feel proud that they belong to our school. It gives them a sense of identity. It makes us all feel like we are one, and that's something we're intensely trying to promote in September when we all come back together again. So uniform is very important. We have high standards. We expect children to look smart. I must say 1,000,000 times a day, can you tuck your shirt in? It's something we continually reinforce, this idea that you look the part, you act the part, and then you produce work that you're proud of too. It's a full, silent, smart and sensible. That's what we expect from our pupils. So it is affordable. It's grey trousers, it's a white polo shirt, and then we have our school jumper, black shoes, we just expect them to have their shirt tucked in and to look the part at all times. PE kit needs to be in school all the time as well. We are looking at the possibility of children wearing their PE kit to school on PE day in September, just because of the virus. But again, once we've finished our risk assessments, we'll let you know on that. We've got a new uniform provider, which is klschoolwear.co.uk. Our uniform is up on the website now. So it's all there and can be bought directly from them. But we have got a pop-up shop in school next Monday from 1 till 4. So if you go onto that website and you book a place on the website, then you can come into school. We're going to have it in the base at the back of our school where you can come in and get fitted out for uniform directly from them. So either way, if you would like to do one or the other or both, whatever, then what I will do is I will put this PowerPoint up on the transition page on our website as soon as the meeting's finished, so that you can click on that link directly and go on to there if you want to. Clubs, we pride ourselves on our after school clubs. Currently, of course, I can't promise or say what will happen in September, at least for the first half of the autumn term, but I do still think it's worth telling you about our clubs. All our clubs are run by teachers. Every member of teaching staff runs a club, and we also have some outside providers who run them. Most are free, although obviously some cost. Sometimes we'll have an opportunity for a club that's too good to miss, and it will be associated cost. But the ones run by teaching staff are free. We always try to have a huge range of clubs. So it could be that there's dance, there's art, there's football, there's a range of things on offer at any particular time. You sign up each term, so the list will come out. You sign up for the ones that you'd like, and then the office will let you know if you've been successful in getting a place. Children need to be collected from after school clubs, 420. And it's not an alternative to after school provision. We say that because sometimes if a member of staff is unwell, or a member of staff has got a meeting or has got to go to a piece of training, it could be that we try to avoid it, but it could be that there's no alternative but to cancel that club. And if we do that, then your child will need to be collected. So although it can be helpful as after school provision, you mustn't rely on it, because it could be that it needs to be cancelled for circumstances out of our control. Obviously, subject to risk assessment, we will let you know what's happening at the beginning of the autumn term with clubs, because again it runs the risk of bubbles and groups mixing. We need to look at that. Parking, as is the case at Elmtree, I know the road outside the school is very, very tight and very, very narrow and dangerous potentially for children. So we have to really be on parents parking on the yellow lines outside school. Please do not do it. I'm out there every morning, and every morning I'm having to ask parents to move on and not park there. And it's because there's very little pavement, the pavements are really narrow, and children are often walking on those pavements, and then a parent will suddenly race up and park on the zigzags, and it's really dangerous. And it just has a knock-on effect, because what happens then is parents won't let their children walk to school, so more parents drive their children to school because it's not safe for children to walk, and it just has this never-ending circle of difficulty. So please don't do it. Please don't park on those yellow lines. We've started putting bollards out to stop it. Please be courteous to our neighbours. Our neighbours are very, very lovely, but they sometimes get fed up with parents parking on the yellow line, so they might come out and ask people to move, and sometimes they do bear the brunt of parental angst and annoyance at that. So please be kind to them. They live there, and I don't think it's very easy being there first thing in the morning when people are dropping off at school. Please don't park in front of the school gates. Obviously those zigzags are there for children's safety. We have got a great deal with the council in that we can give you free car parking permits for Watermeadow Car Park. You'll have had the information sheet in your pack. You fill that in, you get a permit, you put it in your car, and then there is no charge for parking at Watermeadow Car Park, which is only 2 or 3 minutes walk from the school. And that is by far the safest way to get your child to school. Park up, walk them up, and then go back to your car, please, because otherwise it makes it unsafe for everybody else. Okay, so as I said to you, the first day back will be just year 3s. The plan for that is to give them the transition that they haven't had during this time, and it will be an opportunity for them to learn all about Thomas Harding, to get to know their teachers, and to do transition activities to ease them back in. As Mr. Turner said, we're really mindful that most of our year 3s will not have finished year 2. And so we need to make sure that we make them feel safe and secure, or they're not going to be ready to start learning. We'll start getting to know them and assessing them from the very beginning, but it gives them that time to have the place to themselves so that they get a bit more confidence for when the rest of the children come in the next day. But of course, we ask that you will communicate with you nearer the time about how we want you to bring them in, but it is very likely to be that we ask you to drop them at the gate and that they come into school, and we start as we mean to go on in terms of independence, and you dropping them off at the gate and saying goodbye there. It just might be that we have a staggered start. It depends on the decisions we make around bubbles, but we'll let you know. Miss Arnott.
Hi, so I'm going to take this opportunity to just give sort of a brief overview of my role. And on this slide will be a couple of quotes taken from sort of the SEN policy and the pupil premium policy. And there's a couple more to come. That's it. Thank you. So I think reading through these, one of the sort of, I think the most important word that I see on this slide is the word all. And that's where my sort of absolute passion comes into play. And that's where my job also really comes into play. It's making sure that all children sort of reach or have that opportunity to realise their true potential for this particular stage in their life. Inclusion manager is quite an umbrella term, and within that role there are sort of a number of areas, but it pointed at the bottom here. So they will be so one of the main roles is the SENCO, so the Special Educational Needs Coordinator, which you may have sort of worked with previously at your child's current school. Also, my role covers children who have English as an additional language, those who are pupil premium also, and I will monitor their progress and also sort of manage our support team in delivering interventions to help them fill some gaps, but also to sort of push them on a little bit as well, to really sort of challenge them and advance them. Also, part of that role is transition. So when children do come to us in September, I'll be heavily involved in year 3, sort of looking at the children, looking at sort of their individual needs and sort of planning for sort of how we deliver support to help them sort of progress. That also includes transition at the end of your child's time with us. But that's a long way off currently. And the last bullet point is sort of an ellipsis, it's that ... because my role sort of takes on other areas as well. I'm a year 6 group teacher as well, delivering English and maths. So once your child is here in September, you may receive a call from me. You may want to give me a call as well, just to discuss any specific needs that they may have and any support that has worked really well previously, and we can potentially continue to help them during their time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Arnott. Mrs. Westwood.
Hi, I'm hoping you can actually hear me now and see me now, because I'm not sure I quite got that right earlier. Obviously, I'm going to talk about reading. When your children come back in September, the most important thing is going to be their health,
their well-being. But of course, reading is always important. So I'm just going to say a few things about reading now. Reading is important for every child in our school. Reading is a life skill. We use reading across the curriculum in every subject, but it's really important to us that we equip all children with reading and writing skills, not just for school, but for life. But the other really important thing we feel about reading is about reading for enjoyment. So we believe that books give children opportunities to laugh, opportunities they wouldn't normally experience in everyday life. They can see those through a book, and there is so much evidence that reading makes a real difference to a child's life. So what do we do in school? Well, our job is obviously to develop their skills, their reading strategies, their phonics, their fluency. But again, it's our aim to develop a love of reading in every child. So we try to develop engaging lessons. We choose exciting texts with interesting characters from inspiring authors from different places in the world. And they're texts that our children are absolutely desperate to read, and they can't wait for us to carry on. So all of that fantastic stuff is going on every day in our English lessons, but we also read in other subjects across the curriculum too. We also set reading challenges at different times throughout the year. So the reading challenges will come home, they might have challenges over the holidays, and we also have special reading events, not just World Book Day. This year we had the Living Library, which we set up in connection with text. That was really exciting. So working with you, how can we work with you? That's so important. For us, we really have to have a good homeschool link to help each child develop their reading. And so we have high expectations that when the children are at home, they're going to be continuing to read. We expect that the children would read for at least 5 minutes, sorry, not at least 5 minutes, at least 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week. But of course, there are going to be children that would like to read a lot more, and that's fantastic. But we know that there are some children that are reluctant to read at times, but we do say that 5 days a week, at least 10 minutes. And as Miss Nugent already said, each child is given a reading record, and that's where you can, with the children, record the reading that they've done, write a comment, sign to say that you've listened to them read. And that just helps to create that, strong link between home and school. Also, in the autumn term, we hope, but I can't guarantee that it will happen because of the coronavirus, to run a reading session for parents so that we can continue to give you support to help with reading at home. And that's not just about phonics, that's not just about early reading, that's about how do we help children at junior school, how do we help them to continue to read through year 3, 4, 5 and 6. And we suggest that parents still listen to their children read throughout junior school. It's not just for Key Stage 1 because it really supports them. As already mentioned, now is the time of transition. Your children are coming to Thomas Harding, and we have been speaking with and meeting on Zoom calls and things like that with the teachers from your children's infant schools to try to find out where they were in their reading and their writing and their speaking and listening in March when schools closed. And now's that time just to reassure you that it's our job to help your children come into school and get back up to speed with their reading and their writing skills. But obviously anything you can do over the summer holidays will help as well. Now, the first thing to think about over the summer holidays is don't panic. Yes, schools have been closed for a while, and you can't think too much about like, where will they be? They'll have gone backwards. There's been a lot of homeschooling going on, I'm sure, but the main thing that you could do over the summer holidays to support the children with their transition back to school and with their reading is simply just to share stories with them, enjoy reading with them, and just model being that enthusiastic reader. It doesn't matter whether it's poems, stories, it can be stories that they've already read, just enjoying them and reassuring them that they're reading, they're doing fine. Lots of book talk about the characters, talk about the plot. And if you're thinking, well, I've run out of things to read, we've read absolutely everything at home already, I have put on the PowerPoint somewhere. It might actually be on a different slide, but I'll update it before the PowerPoint goes on the website. Were just some links to, not sure whether it's coming up or not, just some links to some websites where there are celebrities that are reading to, like, some books for children, or you can read on Audible and things like that. So have a look for that, and I'll make sure it goes onto the PowerPoint, onto the website. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so as I said at the beginning, Mr. Louvois can't be here this evening, but I just wanted to share her slide with you that she's prepared. So she is our family liaison officer. She's also one of our designated safeguarding leads, and she's really one of the first ports of call for you if you need any help and guidance and advice around all sorts of areas of parenting and support and school life. So it is about impartial, confidential and non-judgmental support. She does have the child protection and safeguarding hat, and she also looks at attendance and punctuality for us. So she might be the first person who gives you a ring if there's an issue in school, and she's somebody we encourage you to call if there's an issue. She's done a lot of work around transition already. She's been in touch with infant schools to talk about children and to find out where children are and any children that might have particular needs that she can address. She helps in Breakfast Club to work with Breakfast Club, and lots of children know that she's somebody that they can go to if they need support. Perhaps her biggest sort of hat, though, is around family support and guidance. So if you look on our website on the Parents tab, there's huge amounts of support on there and advice for parents around emotional health and well-being, around parenting advice, around helping your child with their learning, especially around, you know, coronavirus and around this difficult time that we're all just living through at the moment. She organises parent curriculum sessions which happen during term time in our base, where parents can come in the afternoon and have support with how to help their children with maths and English. So there's lots and lots of things. So I really urge you to have a look on the website on the tab for that. But she's really somebody that's just that link between home and school for us. Sometimes coming into school can be daunting. Sometimes talking to teachers can be daunting. So she's that kind of halfway house, of somebody that you can approach and chat to any concerns you have, perhaps about your child and their behaviour, or about attendance or difficulties that you're having at home, or just to get advice on different things. Or, you know, she's a good link with outside agencies too. And her photo is available on the website if you want to be able to put a face to her name. So if there's a problem, as I've said throughout the presentation, please talk to us. It's really important. We can't fix things if we don't know how you're feeling. And most things, once we've talked about them, we can resolve them instantly. You know, just the talking about it fixes most problems. We ask you to talk to your class teacher in the first instance. If there's an issue in class or there's been an issue on the playground, your class teacher is best placed to fix the issue. Your class teacher is likely to already know about the issue. So talk to them. As we said, we have ample opportunity. We've got an open door policy. You can give them a ring. They can give you a ring back if they're teaching at the time, but also you'll see them after school every day if you collect your child from the playground, because they'll bring their class out. So talk to them and give them an opportunity to fix the issue. As Miss Arnott said, you know, if you've got any issues around SEN or around English as an additional language, or any of those issues about your child, whether or not they're managing in terms of class-based learning, then she might be the person that you want to talk to. And again, give her a ring or contact her via the office, and she can ring you back. Mr. Turner, our deputy head teacher, is available. We're really fortunate in that he's highly skilled and that he's out of class, so he's available all day, every day. He does do some teaching and he does have lots of other hats that he wears, but he is available to talk to you and very knowledgeable about all things. So, you know, he's a good next person to talk to. As I said, we've also got our family liaison officer who can be a contact point for you. And of course, if you've exhausted everything else, then I would urge you in first instance to always talk to the class teacher. And Joe Delouvois is another great, point of contact. Avoiding, because obviously John and myself, if we were dealing with everything every day, we would be bogged down in dealing with the nitty gritty and we wouldn't be able to run the school. So it's important that we are somebody that you come to after all other avenues have been exhausted. But of course we're available. And as I said, we're on the gate most mornings or after school, and we're always available. We want to talk to you. We will come and introduce ourselves on the first day in any case, I'm certain. We are very active on social media and aiming and trying to be more so. So our website is comprehensive. We put everything that goes out on our website, and you should be able to get a really good flavour of the school on there. Facebook is updated regularly, and we often put photos and activities and pieces of work, and there's been lots of home learning going on there that we communicate. We are also on Twitter as well. And again, lots of communication on there and lots of reminders about things like virtual assemblies and stories and things go on there, so that you can stay up to date if you follow us. So please do and engage in it with us in those things, because you know it leads to a more vibrant community in that way, and it means you can stay in touch with what's going on in school. So I think that's me done. As I said, I will put this PowerPoint on the website, and when I put the PowerPoint on the website, I will also put the office email address on there, so that you can contact the office if you've got any questions. But we are happy to take questions now if you would like to ask any questions. Obviously it's quite difficult in an open forum like this, but if anybody would like to unmute their microphone and ask something, we're more than happy to have a go at answering questions now. Do you think that's a no? Okay, well, as I said, I can put it on the website with the office address on there, so you can email us if you have questions, and we can get back to you. Because obviously what would normally happen is parents would start to leave the hall and parents would hang around and talk to us individually, and it does make it much more difficult to ask a particularly pertinent question about your child in this forum. I understand that. Thank you so much for coming. It's so lovely to see so many of you. And we can't wait till it's all back to normal and we can actually communicate face to face and be a bit more human about this. But yeah, as I said, contact us if you have. Oh, there's a hand up. Let's see.
Hello, Mel. Hello. I didn't ask before because there was quite a lot of background noise where I'm speaking to you from, but I've managed to calm that briefly. Thank you for the last minute question. Do you talking about your COVID-19 planning? I imagine it's ongoing. Do you have any idea when we might hear what the approach is for September?
Well, SLT and I have been meeting today, and we'll be meeting again tomorrow and Thursday to kind of just hammer it out. I would imagine we will have a plan by the end of the week that we'll then communicate next week. I would say it will be that soon. I mean, we won't be waiting until later. I mean, obviously things might change over the summer holiday, and if there's a second spike or something happens with the virus nationally or locally, then things might all change. But we would hope that by Monday, certainly by Friday, early next week, we would have a plan ready.
Wonderful. So we'll hear before the end of term, which is a lot earlier than I was expecting. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Subject to change, as we all know.
Yeah, exactly. And if things are different in September, they'll be different then. But we want to go into the holiday knowing that we've got something in place that's risk assessed, ready for September. But we'll get that out soon. Okay, so just check there's no more hands. Okay, so thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wave, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheerio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I was late. I missed
that's
the first bit.
That's okay. We'll put the PowerPoint on the website so that you can have a look.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.